Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Cheryl Yuen. Here's a look at our top stories tonight. John Lee pledges a global hunt for talent, offering incentives to attract recruits. The government sets out details on resolving the housing crisis. And sweeteners for the elderly with an improved health package. Chief Executive John Lee has delivered his maiden policy address, which focused on stemming the brain drain as well as solving the housing crunch. His speech, which lasted 2 hours and 45 minutes in the Legislative Council, was a continuation of his election manifesto. He pledged to improve civil service efficiency by warning to punish those who fail to hit performance targets, set up a government-run investment corporation to better utilize the city's enormous fiscal reserves, allocate extra resources on public health care, and slash the waiting times for specialist services, and to tell good stories about Hong Kong by sending his team overseas on lobbying missions. The chief executive unveiled a raft of incentives to attract top-notch talent to Hong Kong. These include stamp duty rebates for recruits who become permanent residents. Chloe Feng reports.
Hong Kong's workforce was reduced by 140,000 in the past 2 years.
推出高端人才通行證計劃。
To offset the loss, John Lee has vowed to trail the world for expertise as he launched the Top Talent Pass scheme, which has no quota limit. To qualify for a 2-year work visa, a person must be earning at least $2.5 million a year, or is a graduate of one of the world's top 100 universities with at least 3 years working experience. The current general employment policy will be relaxed. Employers will not need to prove that they have problems hiring locals before they can look abroad for talent position in the certain professions with a manpower shortage, or if the position pays $2 million or more a year. The current annual quota of 4,000 a year under the Quality Migrant Admission Scheme will be suspended for 2 years, while non-local graduates can stay and work in the city for 2 years instead of 1. Imported talent who buy a flat will have their extra stamp duty refunded when they become permanent residents after 7 years. They will be paying stamp duty of 15%, the same as first-time local home buyers. The Financial Secretary will head the Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises to lure mainland and overseas strategic firms involved in areas such as life and health technology and artificial intelligence. It will offer a one-stop service including visa applications and arrangements for children's education. A talents service unit led by the chief secretary will formulate strategies to recruit talent with help from Hong Kong's trade offices around the world. The government is also allocating $30 billion to establish a co-investment fund to attract companies to set up operations in Hong Kong. The government hopes the measures will attract 35,000 skilled people to Hong Kong each year. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
So Chloe, I know you're holding a visa for non-local graduates. Can you tell me the sentiments among non-local students regarding the new measures?
Sure, thank you, Cheryl. Actually, just this afternoon, I spoke with some students and graduates from the mainland and also from the overseas. Many of them welcomed the government's move to extend the so-called IANG visa, or the immigration arrangements for non-local graduates visa, because it gives them more time to explore their career possibilities in the city of Hong Kong. That being said, almost half of them whom I spoke with also believe the extension will not be a game changer, simply because of the high rent here and the high living expenses here. And many said they would expect to find a job within the 1-year timeline, so the previous duration is already sufficient. I think as non-locals, they told me that they care more about other factors, such as the time needed to obtain the permanent residency, which is currently quite long at 7 years. And they told me that if this can be shortened, it will be a more attractive factor than a visa extension.
Thank you, Chloe. The government aims to build about 30,000 flats under a new type of public housing in the next 5 years. This comes as the chief executive pledged to increase and speed up home supply as promised in his election manifesto. Joanna Ho reports.
John Lee underlined his determination to resolve the city's long-running housing crisis, saying that, according to a research report, over 7,000 hectares of land will be available in the coming 30 years. He identified sufficient land to build about 360,000 public rental housing units in the next decade. To speed up supply, the chief executive proposed building 30,000 light public housing units. This will raise the supply of public rental housing, or PRH, units by 25% in the next 5 years. The target of 158,000 PRH units is 50% higher than in the previous 5-year period. Light public housing flats will be equipped with basic facilities as in traditional public rental housing units, but the rent will be lower. Those who have waited to become homeowners for 3 years or more can apply for the light public housing flats while retaining their position in the queue for PRH units. Families will be given priority. The government is aiming to cut the waiting time for PRH units to 4.5 years from the current 6 by 2026. A new index to calculate the average waiting time will reflect the government's effectiveness in supplying homes. Lee proposed setting a minimum saleable area of 26 square meters for subsidized housing completed from the 2026-27 fiscal year, while the internal floor area of newly built PRH units should not be less than 21 square meters. The chief executive also plans to shorten land production time by up to half and invite developers to build subsidized housing on 3 sites that will be put to tender at a discount from the market price. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
The chief executive is not worried that homegrown talents will leave the city. John Lee also admitted that his goal to shorten the public housing queue is ambitious, but is confident that it can be achieved. Janice Lowe reports.
While the chief executive is going all out to recruit overseas talent, there's little to retain those who plan to leave the city. But John Lee didn't seem to be worried.
This happened every now and then in the history of Hong Kong. People leave for their own reasons, but provided we make Hong Kong an attractive place, and we make Hong Kong be a place where people, when they look at it, they will think, this is the place. I will come, or I will come back. And that is my mission.
On his housing initiatives, Lee denied that the light public housing scheme is just a rehash of the existing transitional homes, saying those units can be over 10 stories high. He also doubled down on his goal to reduce the public housing waiting time from 6 years to 4.5.
It is ambitious, but it is realistic. We believe that we can do it because we have already identified the government size for this 30,000 light public housing. We will be using MIC, and also we will be doing the building ourselves.
John Lee did not say if anyone will be punished if the 110 key performance indicators are not fulfilled, but stressed the buck stops with him. He also repeatedly praised civil servants for coming up with innovative ideas, such as the light public housing scheme. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
The government plans to improve healthcare services with the emphasis on prevention rather than treatment-oriented. There are also proposals to boost medical benefits for the elderly. Macy Mock reports.
The chief executive is on a mission. John Lee wants to create a prevention-focused healthcare system to address the challenges of an aging population. A primary healthcare blueprint, which will be released soon, is expected to outline plans for a partnership with the private sector to promote the concept of a family doctor for all. The elderly, who often struggle with chronic diseases and dental problems, will be able to use their healthcare vouchers for more services, including those provided by dietitians. An extra $500 will be added to their $2,000 vouchers next year, and is expected to benefit 1.4 million people. To make it more convenient, the government plans to reduce the waiting time at public hospital outpatient services by 20%. It will also set up care teams in all 18 districts to visit people in need, beginning in Chunwan and southern districts in the first quarter of next year. Lawmaker Priscilla Leung hopes the teams will visit Sham Shui Po, where many poor families try to survive in subdivided flats. In an attempt to reduce poverty, the government will ask a commission to study the minimum wage review mechanism amid calls that the base rate be reviewed more frequently. A youth development blueprint will be published this year to introduce more measures to help young people. The government plans to expand the youth hostel scheme to hotels and guest houses, providing 3,000 more spots in the next 5 years. Sources said the government expects 2- or 3-star hotels will participate in the scheme for 3 to 5 years. Lawmaker Benson Look praised the inclusion of hotels as non-governmental organizations lack in accommodation supply. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
John Lee vowed to enhance governance, including setting up an investment corporation to better handle fiscal reserves. He also revealed that he would update the Civil Service Code to make clear the core values and standards of government staff. Winna Wong reports.
In line with the city opening up after 2 years of reclusive COVID policies, the chief executive is aiming to make better investments on Hong Kong's road to economic recovery. John Lee announced today the establishment of the Hong Kong Investment Corporation, or HKIC, which will be led by Financial Secretary Paul Chan. The corporation will oversee a number of the city's investments, including those in the Greater Bay Area, the Strategic Tech Fund, as well as the newly announced Co-Investment Fund. In terms of staying connected with the public, Lee said a chief executive's policy unit will be set up to stay in tune with the local and public pulse. He will personally meet the team regularly to hear advice on government policies. Lee also vowed to enhance management of the more than 170,000 civil servants. He said updates will be made to the Civil Service Code to clearly spell out the core values and standards of conduct. They should safeguard national security and uphold the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong, he said. Enhancements will be made to their training and the reward and punishment system. Finally, Lee aims to make government goals and results more tangible by introducing key performance indicators, for example, to attract at least 100 innovation and technology enterprises by 2027, and shorten the waiting time for subsidized rental housing. Winna Wong, HKIBC.
The chief executive is also rolling a number of mega projects in anticipation of a population boom in the Northern New Territories. They include a bypass linking Tai Po to West Kowloon and a railway line from Kowloon Tong to Kam Tin. Raymond Young reports.
With more than 40,000 construction workers either out of a job or underemployed, the government is under pressure to initiate large-scale infrastructure works. The chief executive responded by announcing 6 transport projects in his policy address. 3 of them are road networks: the Northern Metropolis Highway between Tin Shui Wai and Kwu Tung, the Sha Tin Bypass, which connects Tai Po and Kowloon West and diverts traffic away from the congested Tolo Highway, and the Chengquano-Yaotong Tunnel, the third tunnel linking the fast-expanding new town to Kowloon. 3 others are railway projects, the most ambitious of which is the Central Rail Link from Kam Tin to Kowloon Tong, covering a distance of 16 kilometers. There is also the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, and there could be a public tender for its construction and operation, breaking the monopoly of the MTR Corporation. The final project is the southern extension of the MTR's Chengquano line. Government sources suggest more details will be announced following a consultation next year. But land policy think tank the Labour Research Community questioned why none of the road and rail links had the Lantau Reclamation Plan in mind. The chief executive also set out on a 10-year development plan for arts and cultural facilities, including 4 extra museums, although it's not known what they will exhibit. There are also smaller works, such as the 60-kilometer Round the Island Trail, featuring harborside promenades and countryside tracks on Hong Kong Island. The target is to connect 90% of the trail within 5 years. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
In other news, Hong Kong has added 5,124 COVID infections, including 390 imported cases. 9 imported cases of the XBB subvariant were recorded today, taking the total to 99 so far. 12 more people died because of the virus. People will have to fork out an extra 50 cents for a plastic shopping bag from New Year's Eve. Lawmakers this afternoon passed a bill to increase the charge to $1. Plastic bags containing frozen or chilled food stuff will no longer be free from the 31st of December. 78 lawmakers supported the price rise, with 2 against. The Hang Seng Index ended a 3-session winning run today, closing 2.4% lower. Local property stocks were hit hard, with New World Development slumping 7.7%. Henderson Land and Sung Hong Kai Properties both dropped 3.5%. Tech giants Tencent and Alibaba each shed over 4%. Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing lost 2% after reporting a 30% decline in third-quarter net profit to $2.3 billion from a year ago. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 403 points. Top 10 active stocks. Tencent lost $10.40. Alibaba lost $3.30. Wuxi Biologics lost $3.20. JD.com lost $9.90. Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar. Euro at 7.67, British pound at 8.82, and the Australian dollar at 4.93. The London FTSE is currently down 13 points. Inflation in Britain picked up pace last month to hit a new 40-year high. Higher food, transport, and energy prices pushed inflation to 10.1% from a year ago, triggering fears of another interest rate increase. Food costs jumped 14.4%, registering their fastest rate of increase in 42 years. Economists expect inflation to remain high in the months ahead, despite the government putting a cap on household energy bills until April. On to the weather now. Sunny intervals tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 22 and 26 degrees, rising to 30 degrees on Saturday. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Cheryl Yuen. Thanks for watching. Good night.